me know when we are recording. Okay, welcome everyone to the March meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I will call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Happy March Madness. In lieu of a roll call vote, per usual, I will ask each member to introduce themselves, starting to my right.
Bill Davis.
Renee Wenzel.
Matthew Kochever, President.
David Copenhaver, Vice President.
Andrew Noon, Secretary.
Brian Downard, alternate for Rob Chalice on school board.
All right, thank you. All right, we will now take up the minutes of the February 15, 2024 RDC minutes. Andrew.
All right, you want me to go ahead and read them into record? They're fairly...
yes, no, actually, we print copies for people?
Yes, I do have copies.
We'll distribute those, and then if we want to read them into the record, members let me know what you want to do, and we'll go from there. Here you go. And here you go.
And I think I sent all these out on Monday to everybody through email.
Appreciate that.
There is one change in here from the email that I had, and that was a typographical error. I did have $557.87 for our payment for professional services. When I reviewed, it was actually $557.10.
Got it. Okay.
So I updated that for this minutes sheet that's before everybody, but there were no other changes from what I sent out on Monday.
Okay. All right, members. I know you're reviewing or anything. If anyone wants to make a motion, well, the floor is open. Go right ahead.
We were just discussing the deal with what David had asked about last month. How are we going to handle that?
We're talking about the mayor's public comments to us and everything. Yes, as you've, those have been shared with the email, the mayor didn't have anything written down. He told me he doesn't have any notes, but we want to just transcribe it. There is the video, I think online somewhere. I will ask for a volunteer if someone wants to transcribe that for us so we can insert it into the January minutes and complete that task. Just let me know.
I'll transcribe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I appreciate that. So we can transcribe that. I guess we can read it next month, if that's what my thinking is. It's already been in the motion when we approved the January meeting minutes at the February meeting to get that all done, but I think if we read it in April, call that a task complete.
Yeah. If we wanted to, I guess we could vote to amend to add it to the January minutes
Well,
or whatever.
It already was on there because it was contingent. If my understanding from Phil here is correctly, that was already in the motion when we approved those minutes.
Okay, sorry.
So I think we just need to, someone transcribe it, read it, and it's good to go. Just when we give it to you, just redistribute the minutes for all of our records once we get through the April meeting and everything.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve these minutes? Excuse me, hold on. All right, that's by Jenny Wenzel. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second, thank you, David. Okay, discussion, and let me know when everyone is done. We don't want to start voting until you're all good to go. We good? Good.
I just wanted to make one point.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the mayor requesting money for the city from the RDC, I think we've all agreed that we're interested in making sure that the mayor requests money the same way that any other person the city of Beech Grove does, and
Sure.
we're not really, there's not really any, probably not ever going to be a need where there's an emergency fund.
Sure.
And I think that was what was really kind of the intent of that initially.
Mhm.
And so, in order to prohibit people from feeling like the RDC is some kind of slush fund for the city, that will amend that to make it look like, and you're working on that. Yeah, I just wanted to.
It's on the agenda tonight.
Thank you so
I
much.
said we would do it in March, and
I
we'll do
know
it in
it was
March.
important to you, so that's why I wanted to bring it
No,
up.
of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Are we all good to go? Is there any other questions, comments on the motion? All right. You have heard the motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is approved by voice vote. Oh, right, the docket. An electronic version will be provided for your individual records when I receive it tonight or most likely tomorrow. But you all have the docket copy in front of you. I was only given a couple of the invoices this evening. I have another copy here, so Jenny and Andrew, if you want to look at these as you go along, let me know. We'll have to trade back and forth again. I was only given 3, but if you want it, just let me know. I'll pass it down to you. But you all have the docket in front of you. The front page reads in part, this is the allowance of accounts payable vouchers for the city of Beech Grove RDC. We have examined the accounts payable vouchers listed on the foregoing register of accounts payable vouchers consisting of 1 page. And except for accounts payables not allowed as shown on the register, such accounts payables are hereby allowed in the total amount of $1,729.61. On the next page is the accounts payable register. There are 2 entries. One is to Peters Franklin Ltd. for professional services in the amount of $741.51. The second entry is to Lewis and Capps, also for professional services in the amount of $988.10. Is there a motion to approve the docket as presented?
I guess I would make said motion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, David. All right, discussion. Okay, any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is approved. Okay, I have the 2 copies up here, so I'm going to start down with Andrew. Find your line, sign both documents. One goes back to Andrew when we're done. The other will go to the clerk treasurer's office, which I may just leave with you, Andrew, because your office is not too far from here.
I can get it.
You can drop it off tomorrow. No, I can't stick it under the door. Yeah, so that.
I'll just swing it by sometime tomorrow. That's fine.
Got it. Okay, we'll pause here while we get this signed. Okay, keep that out. Thank you. Thank you. Andrew, here you go. Okay, we will move on to our next item of business. That is, we will hear from the new owners of Ballpark Pizza. Before I call up the owner, Nick, I'm going to defer over to David. If you want to introduce Nick or anything, because you had made this ask,
Sure,
so I want to turn that over to you just to get the ball rolling.
Sure. Nick is one of our new owners of one of our businesses on Main Street. He was originally a pizza boy, delivery boy at famous Ballpark Pizza here in town, and he's worked his way up. And as the management has changed hands, he's now become the new owner and has invested a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and helping us redevelop our main street. And I just saw him out there working his fingers to the bone all through the last couple months of this winter, and I finally stopped in to say, golly, it looks like you're really working hard. I appreciate everything you're doing to help us rebuild Main Street. And so I got to talking to him and saw how ambitious he was and how much hard work he was doing, and said, well, why don't you come in and tell us about your plan and see how we can help you out. So that's why he's here tonight.
Please come to the podium.
I also have some copies of the summary for you all.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
So, thanks for the opportunity and the time, obviously. As David said, my name is Nick Patrick. I live at 205 North 6th Avenue in Beech Grove. With my partner Jackie and our two daughters, Claire and Fiona. Claire and Fiona go to Holy Name Catholic School right down the street. And yeah, Jackie and I in September purchased 607 Main Street, Beech Grove. So very local, very interested in Beech Grove being at its best, obviously. And a little bit more history about me. Yeah, 12 years old, I started working for Kevin Flaherty delivering flyers for Ballpark. All throughout high school, a little bit after high school. After that, I went and was production manager for a place called Green Bean Delivery. From there, I was a manager at a place called Gusta Market, which is like a butcher shop downtown. I worked in a unionized Kroger bakery for a few years during the pandemic, and most recently, prior to buying Ballpark, I was a general manager of a spot downtown called Futuro Pizzeria. Specializes in like Detroit style pizza. So a little bit about me, and you know, Jackie, my partner, we both are full-on service people and are both you know, trying to make this thing come to reality. So in the introduction I have Hey Now Pizza. Hey Now Pizza is what we call it. We are calling our shop or rebranding. Hey Now Pizza presents a transformative redevelopment plan for 607 Main Street. This proposal aims to invigorate the local economy, foster community engagement, and elevate Beech Grove's standing in the Indianapolis art and food scene. Why this investment matters. Number one, strategic location. Positioned at the intersection of 6th and Main Streets, 607 Main offers unparalleled visibility and accessibility. This prime location stands in the heart of Beech Grove's Main Street, making it an ideal spot for revitalization efforts. If everybody, I'm sure, is familiar with that spot. If you're going either way on Main Street, you're going to stop at a stop sign, you're going to have a second to take a breath, and you'll see this building and this parking lot that we're talking about. Number two, parking lot enhancement. The proposal includes vital upgrades to the parking lot infrastructure, including paving, installation of new lighting, and the repair of crumbling parking stops. Additionally, the transformation of dilapidated flower beds into vibrant green spaces and herb gardens adds aesthetic appeal and will enhance the overall ambiance. Quick story, just recently for St. Patrick's Day, I left the shop at like 4, I was back 7:30, and the lot that's attached to Ballpark Pizza, right there on the side of the lot at 6th and Main, was filled with cars, and that's great. There's people coming to our town to celebrate and spend money. You know, it was 7:30, the sun was starting to set. Come 8 o'clock, it's going to be pitch black in that parking lot, which I'm familiar with. 6 o'clock during winter time, it's going to be black as night in that parking lot. And you're probably going to have to like step over a pothole or two. So it's awesome people are coming to like, you know, support our local economy. That lot that's acting already as like an auxiliary overflow lot for Main Street is just not in great shape. And people who are coming to town for the first time, and that's where they end up finding a spot, it's not making a good first impression for these people. Number three, artistic flourish. The side of the building at 607 Main presents a canvas for a captivating mural envisioned by an experienced artist with a passion for Beech Grove's cultural enrichment. The mural will not only beautify the space, but will also further position Beech Grove as a youth and cultural hotspot, attracting visitors and fostering community pride. Number four, that's another one. You're going to come to a stop sign every time. The side of that building in particular is just on display because there's a giant empty parking lot next to it. And currently it is painted primer white, which it could look much, much better. Number four, small footprint patio design. This is number four, and maybe most crucially. Our patio design will beautify Beech Grove and add to the already existing culture of Main Street as an outdoor dining and leisure destination. Parking spaces, sidewalk space for pedestrian traffic, and green spaces are at a premium on Main Street. The patio will be executed on private property and will not result in the city losing any parking spaces, any sidewalk real estate, or any plants, trees, or bushes of any kind. In conclusion, the redevelopment of 607 Main Street by Hey Now Pizza offers a compelling vision of Beach Grove's future. By leveraging its strategic location, enhancing parking lot infrastructure, celebrating local artistry, and embracing the community's unique identity, this investment promises to revitalize Beach Grove's urban landscape and further position it as a destination of choice within the greater Indianapolis area. We seek the support and collaboration of the Beach Grove Redevelopment Commission to bring this vision to fruition and realize the full potential of Beach Grove's cultural and economic vitality. You guys have any questions?
You have questions, please.
I was just going to ask, first of all, thank you very much for coming in here and speaking. It takes some courage to get up there and be in front of people you've never met before, but definitely this all sounds very interesting to me. I like hearing local Beach Grover come in here to be able to create a business. So I guess in some ways, are you asking the RDC for funding to help you in being able to move forward with some of these enhancements
For
and
sure.
things
So
like that?
Yeah, all those things are gonna happen. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of how many years go by before the parking lot is repaved, you know, and people have these kind of experiences where they have to step over potholes. Absolutely, all those things are on our agenda. I mentioned the mural. I have a specific local artist in mind who's super excited about the mural. Nothing's moving forward with that yet, but absolutely, all those things will happen. It's really, I'm coming to the RDC for to make it happen faster. It's not 5 years down the road. It's hopefully we can have a patio fully functioning by the summer.
Because definitely, being a local resident here as well, I walk my dog past there a ton of times. I'd love to see it reopened, revitalized, and moving forward.
Same, absolutely.
And I guess other people can make, but I don't know what specifically, may be asking for at some point in time in the future. More if this was a meet and greet to try and get everything introduced.
Give us a little time and we'll come up with specific projects and quotes for these things. I mean, specifics that we had in mind was putting a mural on the side of the building, because right now, it's just, in my mind, just a perfect canvas. Every time somebody comes to a stop and all they see is a white side of the building, it's a little bit sad when it could be a great opportunity to make somebody excited or make somebody turn in and try the place out. Also, the parking lot needs to be repaved on a really practical level. If you walk your dog past every day, you'll see the garden beds that I'm referring to.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
They have been overlooked for years and years and years. So these are the kind of things. Lighting also, again, it's very dark, 8:30, 9 o'clock right now. Middle of winter, it is very, very dark in that parking lot. Those are the things in particular. Also, patio design, furniture.
I think the patio is a real neat idea.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a real opportunity there. I think it's been, I think it was a real missed opportunity by Kevin for many years. They just didn't really see what it could potentially be. Jackie, I think it could be something special.
Do you have an idea on when you may try to open, or do you...
Absolutely. So right now I'm saying April 6th. And I think
okay.
that's very
Wow.
realistic. Yeah,
Wow.
It's been a long road. We've been held up by contractors who say it's going to be a month and it's actually 3 months and it's that and the other thing. But it is finishing touches. We're I'm little bits of paint here and there. We're getting very close. April 6th, I think we're going to do like a friends and family, have a couple of days to regroup, see what went wrong, what went right, and then I think April 9th, which is Tuesday, we're going to be full on doing it open to the public.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, sir.
I will say this. Do you have a business card that you can leave with me? Only because I want to send you our funding application that we have there, so when you're ready to go, you can have that application, go through everything, email it to us so we can go through our procedures, make sure to get you back here when you're ready to go.
I don't have a business card, but I will write down my info for you.
Sure.
Also, David has my info.
Cool.
I'd like to make a comment, not really a question to him, but just something I thought I wanted to share with the board. The thing that I noticed in his proposal that really kind of jumped out at me that I thought was significant in terms of redevelopment of Main Street is it seems that there's a trend happening in Beach Grove right now that we can really capitalize on, and that is Friendly Beach Grove is becoming a sidewalk cafe town. And if you noticed, the investment that the city of Beach Grove's made in Napoli's and in Fifth and Main and a variety of places where we're kind of bringing the inside to the outside, and as people are driving by, we're waving and saying, "Hey, come on over." And the setback that Beach Grove's had has repeatedly been things like, well, do we want to give up the trees on Main Street to have sidewalk cafe? Or do we want to give up parking spaces to have a sidewalk cafe? In his proposal, we don't have to give up either.
Right.
We're not giving up
That's why
trees
I love
or we're not giving up spaces, but we're still getting the sidewalk cafe concept. And I think the more we can find to do that in Beech Grove, I think we should, I think that really helps the entire town. So I compliment you on your creativity on the way that you positioned that.
David, absolutely. Jack and I feel the same way. A rising tide lifts all ships. Hopefully, it's just one leads to another, and this becomes, a neighborhood that's sort of renowned in the city. I think it's absolutely possible. I'd like to be part of it.
And the fact that you position yourself across from the dog training center makes it dog friendly, and I think that's another plus that he's done. It's very, very creative marketing that you've done there.
100%. Yeah, with the patio design, hopefully, will include dog-friendly beds, dog water bowls. There's dog people constantly. As you just said, there's a dog training school.
I do have a question regarding that. And full disclosure, I just realized tonight that I delivered his mail for years. So, when I was talking the other day, I didn't know where you guys lived, and now I'm putting two and two together. So
Yeah.
I was his mailman for years. The parking lot, I was under the impression that's owned by the dog place, though.
That's absolutely true.
So would we need them to do
The
something?
joint application, if they're the owners, definitely should, yeah.
Okay.
owned by Elizabeth Beck. I've talked to Elizabeth about this whole thing. She
Okay.
is 100% thumbs
So
up.
we would have to make sure, so we don't waste time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Then it would be.
Share, by sending the application with you, share with them, do it jointly, especially if we want to do this as V1 funding as a one project, I would say. That's what I'm probably thinking. You may be the first to submit an application for us. We've had it for a couple months.
Okay.
We haven't used it yet. So you and the other owners may be the first ones to do that. So we'll be learning as we go as we implement this new thing.
Great.
Absolutely.
I have kind of a procedural question
Sure.
for us. Would we have to approve things like the mural? I mean, we can't just let people put up.
Yeah.
I don't want to get extreme, but you know what I mean. Is that something we would have a hand in?
That depends on how you want to devote in doing that. If that's something specific, like you want to have that in there, then we would build that into our. This is where we get into motion resolution. I have the funding application here, and as you all know, you've seen it before. You know that there's the end part for office only, where we would show. Okay, well, this has been approved. When we upload when we make the approved application public, but I imagine there would be a probably, I would assume, a resolution, just so we can all sign it with contingencies on there.
So
And I would assume that we would figure that out as we go.
Totally fine with that. The artist I'm thinking of has already given me some mock-ups, and I also know there's been other restaurants in the city who have put pretty lewd graffiti on the side of their building as shock marketing. That's not at all. Yeah, Lewis has shown me it's the style that he's calling it is Art Nouveau, but it's tough because it's an artist explaining things to you. But no, I don't think from what he's described to me, no person could potentially interpret anything on this as
To provide a shorter answer to you, Phil, I think it's up to any member on how you want to vote on it. If a member would be insistent, like I want that in there in order to vote that, we would talk about it, make sure that's in there. We
So
decide.
that's more for you to understand that then that we could say, hey, maybe you should tweak this or tweak that.
I would
And
expect that to be the case. And Lewis does too. He's very amenable.
okay.
Any other questions? My only last one is that, are you related to any of the Pastrick folks up in Northwest Indiana?
North Indiana, no. I was going to say, if they're local, if they're in Indianapolis, for sure. 'Cause
Okay.
There's only 12 of them.
I'm from Northwest Indiana. You have a last name that is
yeah.
more well known from 50 years ago.
Yeah. He was a mayor or something.
Mayor of Chicago, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
no relation that I know of.
Okay.
We come from Hazard, Kentucky, my people.
Ah, okay.
Different Pastricks, I guess.
You may be distant cousins or something from out in Europe. But no, I appreciate you coming in. I have your email address. I will get you that application in the next few days just so you can look it over and everything. And when you're ready to go, just fill that out. You can easily scan it in and email it to the RDC. Our process will be we'll assign it to a member to review, discuss with council, making sure that we look at both the law and the procedures and everything. And then we may bring you all back just to add on more stuff at a public meeting. And then we'll develop if we move forward, the resolution on providing that funding and any, not contingencies, but requirements that have to be met before we pay any potential invoices.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Yep.
I
And
appreciate it.
would just like to say, as a local business owner on Main Street, right across the street from you.
Right on.
My sister and I run the tea room.
Oh,
Very
cool.
excited, very
Right on.
excited to see you come in.
Absolutely.
So
Well,
if
that's
you
nice to
need
hear.
anything, just let us
I
know.
was in there today with my dogs.
Were you? Yeah, I remember seeing you. Yes.
Yeah,
So yeah,
All right.
we're excited.
Cool. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
All right. Our next item of business is a presentation of the RDC annual report. I will call up Jeff Peters to present that report. That report was shared with you all at some point earlier before this meeting. Just before I let Jeff go through the entire report, I will let you know that this is a requirement of statute for Redevelopment Commission. A annual report has to be presented and has to be approved by this board. There are new laws that were passed last year that take effect really this year, where once we approve this report, if we approve it tonight, I will have to present the report to the city council at their April meeting. They must approve it. That is new. And then if they approve it, this will get uploaded to the DLGF portal, which is what has normally been done. So I will let Jeff take the floor, go through our report, then we'll take questions and go from there. Jeff.
Thank you, sir. Again, statutory requirement as of several years ago. And procedurally, the information that is in this report is also uploaded in a different electronic format in the DLGF's gateway. However, it has to be submitted before it can be printed, so we give you basically a hard copy of the same contents that are going to be in that report, unless you make some changes here in the next few minutes as we go through this. I am Jeff Peters, long-term financial advisor for the city, the utility, and the Redevelopment Commission. Several of you I don't know that I've met yet, but congratulations on coming to the RDC. Hope you enjoy it. The annual report looks at the individuals, members, and officers throughout 2023. Again, this is the annual report for last year. You do not have any employees. In the revenue section, I've broken that down by the allocation areas of 171. This T49, T is for TIF district, 49 is for Marion County, and then each TIF allocation area has its own unique 3-digit number. However, some of these are actually combined into other areas, and that has to do with legislation that has changed over the time period of when these were established. Originally, just to give you some of the background, you had an Amtrak area and you had a South Emerson area. And the South Emerson area, when the Walmart and Lowe's were going to come on board, the thought and the idea was at that same time, Indianapolis and MPO were redoing parts of Emerson Avenue. And to make that more attractive and to come into a Main Street kind of welcome area and the towers that you had built there, the areas were connected with Emerson Avenue and some of the real estate on both sides of that. So it allowed the revenues that were being generated and going to be generated by the South Emerson area of the Walmart, the Lowe's, Amtrak, everything coming up both sides of Emerson and onto Main Street. It allowed you to spend some of that money up into these areas. That was the first expansion and consolidation, and that's in this bottom one, T49-352. So it includes all those areas, the combined, and as we get back in this report, I'll show you when that one expires. T49-171 is the medical center part of what was Old St. Francis. There was a tentative deal that never came to fruition that was put together out there, and that area was actually cut out and made a separate allocation area. T49-753, this body a few years ago identified a series of parcels on North Emerson that are part or were part of the old Amtrak area, and some parts were not in the allocation area. But as that is designed to be redeveloped into other things, it has been split off into its own allocation area. And one of the reasons we split these off under current legislation is everything in the TIF allocation area has a 25-year deadline from the first time that you issue an obligation against it. So when you issue bonds, or if you issue bonds or a lease, that 25-year clock will begin to tick. Those parcels that were in the old North Emerson area were part of the Amtrak facility. So when bonds were issued in the, I think, 2006, 2008, that clock began to run, and the time period on those were running out. However, that area is supposed to redevelop into something that's going to generate considerable money to the RDC over time. So the financial mechanism that we use is to carve that out into its new area. Now it has a 25-year clock from the next time you issue an obligation against that revenue stream. So today, that area is continuing to generate money, and it has no time limit on it at the moment. And that is that T49753. So you can see for 2023, it produced about $107,000 for you. T49178 is the Crossroads Engineering Building out on West Albany. And again, that was carved out of the old consolidated area, again, so that you could capture more years of revenue. You'll have more revenue to work with over time, and that will give you another revenue stream if you choose to leverage it into bonds or anything for future projects. But all in, total revenue was about $839,000. Next page on your expenditures, you spent about $620,000. So you added to your cash balance by about $200,000. You had professional services, demolition. I think you guys have talked about it before. The old Safeway properties. You have removed that blight. Obviously, one of your statutory goals would be the elimination of blight, as that improves the value of all those properties around it. You did some paving work, roadway work, property acquisition regarding the new police and police training facilities, some parking lot lighting. Again, spent about $620,000, so you gained about $200,000 in cash. You did not loan or grant anything during 2023. Cash on hand under F, you've got a little over $1 million. Again, all of your previous bonds have been paid off. You have no outstanding obligations. That's the cash that you begin 2024 with. Again, you should have revenue of around that 800 and some thousand. So you have money coming forward that you can use for projects. And again, if you get into projects that you cannot fund with your ongoing revenue stream and your cash on hand, you can leverage those revenue streams in the form of bonds going forward. The summary under G was that you have continued to assist in the redevelopment of certain areas in the city, reimbursing certain expenses for demolition of blighted and dilapidated buildings, redevelopment of other property to enhance economic makeup of the city. You undertook paving and roadway rehabilitation projects, acquired property for the redevelopment of public safety purposes. And one of the things that redevelopment commissions do all the time is to continue to study what is the best use of our dollars. What are projects that we can undertake that we're going to get the most return in economic development or elimination of blight, redevelopment. So you should, again, always be continuing to study that as long as you're going to be a redevelopment commission, and try and pick those best projects that are going to return the most for you. Outstanding obligations under H, you have none at this time. I, these are all of your allocation areas. It's the T49171, again, that's the medical center. It expires in 3034. T40,
2034.
I'm sorry,
2034.
what did I say?
3034.
That'd be a long time. Yeah.
Yes.
We won't be here then. Yeah, 2034. Beech Grove area 49352. Again, that's South Emerson, Amtrak, up Emerson, part of Main Street, and some other areas. The large consolidated area. It expires in 2030. So we're down to just a handful of years left of collection, and that one does include your biggest revenue drivers, which are the Walmart and the Lowe's. 49178 again is Crossroads Engineering. It does not have an expiration date at this point in time. It'll be 25 years from the first obligation. 49753 again is the North Emerson area. It too does not have a current deadline. It'll be 25 years from your first obligation. And T49179 is the area that you established last, which was Bethel Avenue, for some redevelopment there. And again, assuming that that property produces increment, that revenue stream should go on for 25 years from the first obligation. The last few pages are the parcels. And again, this is the required information, is the county, the parcel number, whether the property is real or personal, the name of the taxpayer, the GAV is gross assessed value, NAV is net assessed value, base AV is the original base assessed value, or shouldn't say original, the base assessed value for pay 2023, and then the incremental AV is the amount that you are charging the tax rates against and collecting for that $839,000 revenue stream. You'll notice in T49352, the consolidated area, the last two parcels do not have a parcel number, but have a P in the property tax code. Those are for personal property, and that's for Alro, Steel, and Bomar. You do have the ability for certain types of personal property, manufacturing, research and development, logistics, those types of personal properties can be captured, and that increase in those assessed values you can harvest into the Redevelopment Commission as well and use that as an additional revenue stream. Can't do personal property for retail type items, so the Lowe's, Walmart, whenever you get something like that, they'll have a couple $1 million worth of personal property inside those structures, but they go to the tax base. You can't capture those. So again, it's one of those things, it's a good thing to let taxpayers know when a project like that comes on. Even if you capture it into your TIF allocation area, you're also feeding the tax base, because that couple $1 million in personal property would not materialize but for you incenting those projects to develop here. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I do have a couple. So going back to the personal property one that you met with Bomar and Alro Steel, I see it listed here. Does that mean that when this allocation area was created, those personal property tax was harvested? Are we currently pulling that in, or is that just you have to list that here and we haven't done anything about it?
No, you are collecting on that.
Okay.
It was not part of the original area, but it was part of those two industries, I believe, came forward with new personal property investments they were going to make and wanted tax abatements. So the tax abatements were granted. It was captured to go toward the debt service on the bonds that were being issued at about the same time.
So I would, if I'm understanding this correctly, is that bonds were issued from the regional medical center. I'm assuming that was back in 2009.
Those never came to fruition.
Those never came to fruition, but we still have the expiration date of 2034.
Yes.
Okay. We didn't do anything. Okay. I just want to make sure, so that, I'm just trying to get the clock was running because,
Yeah, and we had legislative changes in there as to, because original allocation areas were set up with no expiration date. Then the legislature said, if you have outstanding bonds at this point in time, it'll go forward this far. If you don't have outstanding bonds by this given date, then it'll go forward this far. So I believe that to be the correct expiration date for the medical center.
I just have one more question. I'm sorry, my questions are a lot more about, even being on this board for some time, I'm still learning about RDC redevelopment law and everything. Once a allocation area expires, what do RDCs usually do? Do they just, we're done with this area? Do they
Yes,
redo
it goes
the allocation
back.
area?
Goes back to the tax base.
Okay.
What RDCs typically do going forward is exactly what you're doing. Identifying properties that are potentially going to harvest you more revenue. Like the 753 on North Emerson. You know, now it paid you nothing before, and now it's paying you $107,000 a year. If that booms, and particularly if you get something manufacturing related that uses that rail line, that will be so much bigger than the Lowe's and the Walmart put together.
Okay.
You eliminated the blight out on Safeway, depending on what that becomes. Right now, we have that pulled out of the allocation area, so that as it develops, you can then decide, okay, we're going to go and capture that if it's worthwhile. If it becomes residential, probably not going to capture it unless it's, high density apartment buildings, things like that, that would be worth capturing. But depending on what that is, you want to, again, prep those areas, make sure everything has utilities. And I think we did some utility work, or we were set to do some utility work out on the North Emerson area. Getting those things ready for economic development and then capturing that is typically how RDCs go from where they're at historically and continue to go forward. Because if we do this right, we're going to continue to flesh out areas or redevelop areas, and we'll just go from area to area, bring them in, do more projects that gets the next area ready.
Yep. I'm sorry, I just have one last question. When bonds were issued, because I was here once the bonds were issued that were already done, we were just getting ready to pay them off. But typically when an RDC goes forward and issues bonds to do a major project or whatnot, what's the standard term on repayment of those bonds? Is it 10 years, 15 years, 25 years? What are we talking about?
Yes.
Oh, so all those, okay. So
it's going to depend on the size of the project, the revenue stream that we have available, the revenue stream that we can identify and measure that we think is going to come in, because that is probably what will kick off the next thing. Somebody will come in there and say, hey, I want to put in a $40 million manufacturing facility, and it's going to have $20 million of personal property at that North Emerson site. And they're going to say, I need you to give me this, this, and this. And you decide whether you want to do that or not. We see how those line up revenue stream wise, and then we'll issue the bonds accordingly out to that 25-year period. The other thing is, whenever you issue bonds like this these are, even though they're property tax, they're actually revenue bonds, TIF revenue bonds. So they're required to be covered by at least 125%. Your revenue will need to exceed what the debt service payment is. And then we may have to have some backups from the city in order to sell those at good interest rates as well. But it depends on facts and circumstances at that point as to how far you leverage it. The other reason when we have these separate allocation areas is we can pledge the revenue from all of them together toward those bonds and start all 25-year clocks running. Or if it's specific to that area, we can pledge just that revenue stream from North Emerson and leave this one out at West Albany alone and let it continue to accumulate until a project sprouts out there and then do the same thing.
I'm done with questions unless I come up with other folks who have questions for Jeff here. Please,
For you.
go right ahead.
171, the medical center. Is that both St. Francis and the Medical Arts Building minus Crossroads? Is that what you're saying there? Or is that just the Medical Arts across the street on the west side?
I don't know if I can answer that. Let's see. On our back pages, T49-171 are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parcels. 5 belong to Sisters of St. Francis. 1 is Alverno.
Okay, so Alverno, I believe, is the parking garage.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
I
that-
believe Bob and I looked at the medical arts.
Is a separate, it's part of the Sisters of St. Francis. The related organization. Maybe separate corporations, but they're related organizations.
So is the,
If you go to Map Indy, you can look at those parcel numbers, and it will show you
okay.
where those are. But I don't believe it's the medical arts building,
Yeah, 'cause
because I believe
that
that's
medical arts is
IREX
privately
4.
owned, so that wouldn't be Sisters of
Yeah,
St.
it's
Francis or
IREX.
anything.
Or LLC, we believe is the.
Yeah, so it's like 8 or 9 down in the next area under 352, IREX 4 LLC. I believe that's the medical arts building
Okay, so
across
that's
the
a separate
street.
one. Okay, on 352, how, you said it goes up Main Street, so do you know offhand how far it goes up Main Street?
I do not, but one of the intents at that point in time was to not take the properties on Main Street, but to redo the flooding issues and the sidewalks and the street itself. So I think it may actually just be,
Okay, 'cause you said
inside
the
both
clock starts
buildings.
ticking. You wouldn't obviously want to go too far up if there's no plans with anything. And
yeah, well, the plans at that point in time was to use, again, Walmart and Lowe's money to fix all the flooding issues and parking issues, et cetera, up Main Street.
last question then, Safeway, if they decide that the owner comes in now and decides he wants to do something, is it easy to get that back into a TIF zone? You said we had taken that out.
Yes.
It's pretty easy just to go ahead and,
Yes, and the only thing timing-wise that we need to remember when we're capturing things is anytime during the calendar year, if you get that area established, which takes maybe 30 days, 45, 60, yeah.
More like 60 to 90.
Yeah, but we could do special meetings if you needed to, if you were on a tight crunch to get it done at the end. But if you get it done at before December 31 of a given year, you get the base of what that was on January 1 of that year. So even if somebody brings a project forward and starts to move dirt, you can go back and get that base at January 1 and capture all the increment that happens. So you've got a little bit of lead time in there. You just have to be aware of these things are going to come to fruition, and this is what it's going to look like, and this is something we want to capture.
thank you.
Thank you.
Heather?
So I just want to make sure I understand. So the RDC in 2023 invested $114,000 in the Safeway demolition. Is that?
Yes.
And then after they didn't fill out a proposal for
No,
me.
what didn't exist at the
And we
time.
didn't have a clawback for that.
No, we did not.
But then we took them out of the TIF zone after we invested $114,000.
Yes.
It happened, well, and
Is that what?
it was all part of that. We had to take them out because the property is worthless. So we would have,
It would
we
have
took it
created a
out because we
decrement.
would have gotten a negative on there. We would have not been collecting any money. But it all happened, it happened at the same time, but we removed them from the TIF area before we finished up and passed the resolution, if I'm recalling correctly. We wanted to do this before we moved forward with the demolition because the property was practically worthless from a
Well,
assessed
it
value
was
perspective.
actually a drag on your other revenue because you measure all these together. So one of the other things that redevelopment commissions do as maintenance going forward is to look at properties that now have fallen below their base value of when they were taken in, and we call those decrement parcels. They actually net out against your increment parcels. So that, because those buildings were standing there previously and were worthless, they were in a decrement position and were drawing down your other revenues from that area. So the blight was removed, the parcels were removed, to get rid of the decrement. That will maximize your revenue until such time as some development occurs out there.
Well, maximum.
It will maximize your revenue as a redevelopment commission.
Okay, but bottom line is we invested $114,000 and we took it out of the TIF zone. And so,
Yes, you're just waiting for it to see what it's going to develop into. But again,
and we don't know what they're going to do next.
No, we're not.
Okay.
We will find out in April when
I'm
they
just
come to
trying
our
to get the
meeting.
facts right.
No. My frustration is more, I will admit this. I must have not been paying attention, or I'm finally getting a handle on these annual reports, but I didn't know that our biggest TIF area where we get most of our revenue expires in 6 years, and now I've just been realizing, what have we been doing for the last couple of years? And this is not at you. This is a frustration at me and this board, not you, Jeff. You've opened my eyes to this by now. I can understand the report of, we have things to redevelop.
Yeah.
Now, some stuff will TIF. I mean, things go away, and we'll TIF other areas. Yes, I guess so. But our biggest area where we can use that revenue for, I'm assuming, frankly, all other RDCs of relatively sized cities, they do projects. They do bigger things like what we did when they issued the bonds back in the aughts here, whatever project they were doing.
Yes.
But most cities do that. Carmel does that. They borrow against the revenue that they're going to get, so for all their different redevelopment programs.
Yes.
Okay.
And in the meantime, you do things just like you did on North Emerson. You identify something that is going to be a great project area at some point in time and flesh it out. Put infrastructure in there, whatever it is that needs to be done to sell or to get it ready to sell to somebody and then capture it when it comes in. So I feel like you guys as a redevelopment commission, you're doing that, you're setting the table. It's just going to take that private investment to come in and then you go capture it.
But what I was trying to, the point I was going to make.
Oh, yeah, please, I'm sorry. I hijacked your point with my frustrations. Go right ahead.
But if we invested $114,000, then we take it out of the TIF, and then they decide they're going to put residential there, then we're not going to put it back in the TIF, so that $114,000 is gone.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess so.
There's no way we get that money back.
Yeah, and I'm not an economic development person per se, but whenever you hear them talk about that, they talk about the rule of 9. Anytime you eliminate blight here, all those 9 properties around it have all increased in value. So whatever you did there, by eliminating that blight, anything around those areas should now be more valuable today and more likely to cause redevelopment. And I believe that property is real close to those medical arts buildings that you have been waiting to redevelop for a long time. So perhaps you've incented that.
Okay, so that brings me to my second question then. You started to ask this, Phil, what is the building that we're calling redevelopment for the medical arts? And that is not the private building on Sherman Drive, on the east side of Sherman Drive. We're talking about the buildings that are owned by St. Francis, correct?
When I refer to medical arts, I'm thinking of that building on the east of Sherman Drive, that brick building with the boarded up first floor windows.
Is that
It's the 2 buildings on the east side of Sherman.
okay? They are still in the TIF zone right now today.
Yes.
Yes, because I thought you wrote a resolution and took them out of the TIF zone.
No. We took Safeway. At Safeway parcels, the grocery store and the 2 restaurants.
Right.
They were removed.
All right.
That medical arts building is still
Okay,
in that TIF
good,
area.
good.
Yes.
'Cause
This is for sale, right?
But the west side's not.
Yeah, west side of the,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
The west side, Dave, is what we would refer to, since we live over there, as the medical arts. But we're talking about the visiting nurse service
Yeah.
and the Alverno in the east side.
It is,
Right.
but the west side private building,
Yeah.
which is the commercial building, is not in a TIF zone.
No, it is.
It is in a TIF zone.
The 2 buildings that are boarded up on the first floor of
Yeah.
the brick are in the TIF district.
Which TIF number are those in? I'm just curious.
I believe they're 352.
352?
I believe it's at IREX 4 LLC. It's about 8 or 9 down on that list.
Yeah.
That's in the greater Emerson.
That's 52,000 square feet of office medical space.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably more office space than all of Beech Grove combined. It's also 217 parking spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like there's enormous redevelopment opportunities.
Yes.
And
And not to
again,
mention that had a basis value of 0. So we
Yes.
collect, but it's currently, I'm assuming it's.
Yeah, and I think it may have been one of those purge items where it was purged out and put back in to get it down to a zero base. But again, that's one of those, if somebody comes forward with a proposal of, hey, this is a great piece of real estate in Beech Grove and I can do X, Y, and Z to it, then you may actually want to pull that out as this TIF district is expiring in 2030 and make it into its own, like the Crossroads Engineering, and then let it generate for 25 years to give you
Will it
additional
generate
revenue
the same
stream.
amount?
Well, today, if you took it out and put it in its own area, you would have to pick up this 653,200. But if they are going to develop it into something that is considerably more expensive, it may be better that you get the increment between their development using this 653 as a base and having 25 years of revenue collection versus 6 more years at 653,200.
Sure, okay.
And again, it's just depends on facts and circumstances.
David, just to answer your question, I consider that to be a major redevelopment project that I personally want to vote. I want to do something, but I don't know where we are. I know the owner. I'm assuming he's still selling it. That sign's still out there, but we're missing a connection point of how we can either work with him or buy the property or do something to redevelop it. But I want it redeveloped because I've been on this board for 4 years, since 2021, and that's been there, and that's been a key thing, and
I met with
really
the
want
owner.
something done.
I met with the owner, and he has a potential leasee for it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also want to let you know that I had heard this rumor that that building is in significant mold and water damage, and I talked to him specifically about it, and he said it's not true. He said there's a few places where there was a small amount of water damage, but it's not like the whole. The way I was told it was the whole building was just and you'd be torn down. It was so bad, but he said it's absolutely not true. One last question, if you don't mind. I'm new. Can you help me understand? Is the old Beech Grove City dump in a TIF zone or not?
It better not be.
It is. I believe the rationale for that was to do something with it and use redevelopment funds in order to do that.
Is it in Northeast Emerson or is it in the expanded one?
Expanded. So I would assume it's in this 352.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't think it was there, but I don't want to do anything.
If you go on the AIM website that has the map, it shows it in the.
It's in there.
It shows it in there, yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, the question is, do we want to take that out? I think those kind of things, putting things in, taking things out, that probably one of the main things we want to look at. I would assume.
Yeah, because I don't know what to do with it because it's a dump, and that's always the we. Last time we had a conversation about this, there was nothing that we could do, and so the outgoing mayor didn't bring it to us.
But there are things you can do with those. For an example, today I actually had a fun lunch meeting at Terre Haute, and I shot sporting clays under the old county dump, or over the top of the old county dump. They've made an entire shooting facility that surrounds that. So there are things that you can do with it.
Munster turned their old dump into Century Park.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a nice park too. But yeah, I understand what you mean. Yes, we got to look at because again, the thing.
Yeah, if the liabilities
stuff
outweigh
and
what
stuff
you can
is
do
not
with it.
Something that I don't know what to do with all that potential remediation and everything. But yeah.
Part of our comprehensive plan, I think we should really take a look at that. We don't even own all that property. We only own half of it. I think there's been Department of Environmental Management studies that have come up, and I think all those things should be considered in terms of whether it should or shouldn't be in a TIF zone as part of what we're looking at.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Any further questions?
I actually do have a couple more because of things they asked. With the Walmart and the Lowe's, so once it goes out of a TIF district, you can't do anything. You can't put it back in unless you have some kind of plan to do something.
You could put it back in, but its value will be the value when it expired. So there will be zero increment.
Okay,
So there would be no
like with the
financial.
Walmart and Lowe's, the value was before they started,
Correct.
And that's why we're getting the money we're getting. If we did it now at that value, we wouldn't get the $700,000.
Correct. Because I think the Walmart was it a church and an open field?
Yeah, there were
And
a
the
few
Lowe's
houses
were
that-
part of the Ramada, and the Ramada, we actually went to the Marion County Auditor's office and got them to take that parcel out because of what its value was, to make sure that we got more money coming in as the Lowe's.
I assume because the Lowe's is in this area that the old shutdown Rallies is also in there. It's a separate parcel, and it's in the allocation area? Or is it not?
Probably.
Probably, okay. So, because that could stand to
Other
redevelop.
question
You
is,
pass by it, it's a nice.
Is there any rhyme or reason as to what it tips up? I'm looking at the 352 here. Sweet Scoop is the ice cream place over here at 18th and Churchman, and you've got White Castle and Lowe's and all that up here. So is it?
It depends on the time in which they're done, what you actually, and then, as you go through this exercise of your new plan, you'll want to look at certain properties, and you may look at that and say, oh, that's ripe for redevelopment. So we want to put it in here because we think that's going to become X, Y, or Z. I don't know what the Sweet Scoop was before.
Oh,
Do you remember what it was?
It's been a million things, but gas station years ago, and
So this would have
Ged's
been
Delight before that.
probably 2005 or something like that. If it was something that the redevelopment commission at that point said, yeah, that's going to develop into something else, we want to go ahead and capture it now so that the
So
revenue
a zone
stream will
isn't
be
really technically a zone. It can be individual things
Parcels.
that aren't contiguous to each other, or
there.
because it-
Contiguity.
it just looks to me like that's like almost like a congressional district or something where they stretch them way out. And
Well, definitely we can gerrymander to whatever you think is going to generate the most revenue.
okay, so that's basically
If
what
it's all
they've done with that.
contiguous, yeah. If it's not contiguous, I'd default to legal counsel whether we can shotgun.
I always thought it was other older areas that they combined into one giant consolidated area, which I assume the law provided for. Because yes, you're right, it is all over the place. It's on the south side by my house. It's up on the west side, over by Sweet Scoop. It's all over the place, and it captures these things here and here, but they're not all connected. Because we got some on Emerson, but it doesn't go all the way up to Emerson. Doesn't get all of Main Street. So my assumption is, and Bob, I'm looking at you as our as a legal expert, is that it may have been different TIF or allocation areas that were put together into one because the law allows for that.
Okay.
Is that possible? Is that why this
I
is?
think there's some legacy situations where they were connected, properties are removed, so you can disconnect. Jeff has been at this in Beach Grove well before me, so.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot that has gone on in the last 20 years in regard to your TIF areas and identifying them, purging them, splitting them. But again, all that's, the rhyme and reason is to generate the maximum amount of money that you can have as a redevelopment commission to undertake projects that benefit everybody as a whole.
Can I ask one last question?
Yes, of course.
Just from your professional experience looking at these plans over time, when you look at this particular plan, if you could advise us, what do you think the strengths and weaknesses of this plan from 2023 were?
The plan for the expenditure?
No, just in general, I'm just asking, what do you think the strengths and weaknesses of this past year's investment for Beech Grove was? What are the strengths and weaknesses of this as you look at it as a whole?
My expertise for you is more from the revenue side, generating revenue for you, maximizing revenue for you, leveraging your revenue streams into bonds. What you actually expended on, that's more of an economic development person. Whoever will be redoing your plan will have a lot of ideas as to what your expenditures did for you. The one highlight that does stand out to me that I know is controversial is the demolition. But I always think that, you want to eliminate blight because you cannot get a lot of other investment and development until that's gone, typically is what I see. The other stuff, the roadway, things like that, those are done routinely in redevelopment commissions, again, to bring up the value of everything around to try and set that table for private investment from private individuals and companies.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jeff.
Hey, thank you so much.
Right. Well, we've gone extensively through the annual report. Some things, even for me, even though I was here in 2023, are somewhat eye-opening. It just reminds me of that bigger projects. We must do these things. Let's focus on that, and hopefully, again, I hope, as I've said to the city council, I will say to you all, on top of rewriting the redevelopment plan, moving forward on one of these projects, like Safeway. Safeway would be one that if we could, even if it's not the previous owner, but get somewhere where there's a plan that we will build something on there. Because again, we've eliminated the blight, but it's still an eyesore there and everything. That's what I would hope to do. But we need, we're all volunteers here. We don't, as you see in the report, we don't employ people. We don't have a redevelopment director in the city. So it's contingent on, really any resident of the city who has an idea or knows someone who says, yeah, they'll do this thing and get connected and everything. And so we have to, every one of us, we need to work on that. But I'm very much serious. One of these bigger projects need to happen. I would hope that the old CSX property would be something, but Safeway would be the biggest thing. Is the biggest parcel that you see when you come down on Albany, but what is probably the busiest thoroughfare from Emerson to the end of the city limits and everything. So something to keep an eye on. But you've heard the annual plan. If we approve this tonight, usually, I guess, since I'm president, I will sign this, and then we will present at the April 1st meeting of the city council. While I will do this as part of my report, obviously, any other member, I will never say no. If you want to speak to the city council as well, you go right after me, add on your comments, do your thing. Would appreciate you all, if you all could come, but I leave that all up to you. But with that, is there a motion to approve the annual report and submit it to the city council?
I would make said motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ooh, okay, motion to approve annual report. Okay, discussion. I will just add on that I'm going to sign my copy and keep it with me. That's the one I'll scan and send to the city council. Bob, I'm going to take your copy and sign it as well, and you keep that for the attorney record. Just so that if my binder gets abducted by aliens or something, we have another copy somewhere. Okay, any further discussion on this matter? Again, yeah, I'm sorry, Phil.
I'm sorry, I didn't, should have. Is this when it typically is done, is in March?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it has to be uploaded to the state by April 15th. So do it in March, present to the city council at their April meeting, get it up by April 15th. Yeah, this is one of the key things that we have to do. This annual report, we have our meeting with the public hearing with the local taxing district. So that's all the taxing districts that we pull money out of, township, schools, the city, the county, where we present to them, well, here's all of our TIF areas, and usually we say, we don't have any excess assessed value to get back to you, we need it all for redevelopment, and then the budget. Those are the big key things. So this is number one, and the next one will be 2 months from now in May, is when we usually do the public hearing for the excess valuation. Again, my thanks to Jeff Peters. Hearing no further discussion, on the motion to approve the annual report and submit it to the city council, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is approved. Bob, can I have your copy of the report, please? Dates. March 21. That one scans in the city council. Thank you, Aaron.
I reckon the reason why we have zero gross, zero net, and all these, it's because they don't pay taxes. Right?
Okay.
So you approve and go.
Well, and the railroads.
All right. Next item of business is on the redevelopment plan update. We have two presentations tonight. And so I would like to invite them up there, starting with Mr. Kleinpeter, actually, to go over the thing. to go over again the Okra grant that is available for economic development plans. I know we discussed this last month, but I think a presentation tonight on this will provide some further thought to what we as an RDC want to do in moving forward. So we'll hear that presentation, and then we will hear from our second speaker, and then have discussion on what to do next. So, floor is yours.
So good evening, Redevelopment Commission. Mike Kleinpeter with Kleinpeter Consulting Group. A little bit of history on me. I worked at the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. Most people know them as OKRA. I worked there for about a year, but prior to that, I was a grant writer in Kentucky when my wife went to pharmacy school at the University of Kentucky for 4 years. While I was there, I wrote a lot of grants, and when I came back to Indiana, I'm from Seymour, Indiana, I took a job at the Lieutenant Governor's office working at OKRA. Stayed there a year and realized I liked working there, but I was stuck behind a desk all day, and I had a lot of grant writing experience. So I started my own firm in 2015. Since then, we've had a lot of success. Started working here in Beech Grove in 2017. So since 2017 here in Beech Grove, we've done a downtown revitalization plan. In 2021, we had a wastewater project funded for $600,000 through OKRA, and in 2023, here recently, we had a stormwater project funded for $600,000. So flipping over to the second page there, it's kind of got a little bit of our history of grants we've chased and received. In 2022, we wrote 22 grants, received 22 grants funded for a total of $10.5 million. 2023, we wrote 17 grants, had 17 grants funded for a total of $7.8 million roughly. And so far this year, we've already submitted 10 grants and had 10 grants funded for about $5.4 million. We mostly focus on OKRA grants. We serve about 80 municipalities across the state. We work in Beech Grove, Bargersville, Speedway, Greenfield, Lawrence, Fortville, Ingalls, to name a few. We have a total staff of 14 people, 4 full-time employees and 10 part-time employees. 9 of us are certified grant administrators. So OKRA requires, in order to access this federal funding, that you have at least one certified grant administrator on staff. We have a total of 9, so if something happens to me, there's other people that can take care of you. The next page shows the experience of our team. I'm kind of the rookie with 8 years experience here. Beth Gove, Neil Brook, Greg Beimer, Judy Strausser, they are all former OKRA employees. Greg Beimer was the former director of OKRA, the interim director of OKRA. But when they all worked up there, once they retired, they slowly just started joining the team. So there's a lot of OKRA institutional knowledge through the years. Carolyn Horvath is the former accountant at OKRA. So when she worked there and everybody was coming to work for us, she called and said, hey, do you need an accountant? I'd love to come work with you guys too. So we grabbed Carolyn. We also have some other players on the team. Flipping over to the next page, Mary Richardson is an active clerk treasurer. She works part-time for our team, helping out with any issues the clerk treasurer might have. Monty Poling is a former Union City town manager. He helps out as well. And Jenna Wertman is the director of planning for Brownsburg. Full-time, she works for us part-time, just assisting with mapping and things like that that municipalities might need. So what does OKRA have to offer the city of Beech Grove? They have water grants, wastewater grants, stormwater grants, commercial blight clearance, public facilities, and planning. Looking over on the right side there, a city or town can have 2 open grant applications at a time. So right now, the city of Beech Grove currently only has 1 application open. OKRA will only fund grants to cities, towns, or counties. So the lead applicant for this grant, should we choose to proceed forward, would have to be the city of Beech Grove, and the council would have to pass a resolution authorizing the matching funds. Flipping over to the next page for planning grants, OKRA has comprehensive plans for populations under $10,000, you get $50,000. For populations over $10,000, you get $60,000. You can get $90,000 to look at a master utility planning study, which is water, wastewater, and stormwater. You can do a downtown revitalization plan for $40,000 or an economic development plan for $40,000. I was asked about, when I first started talking to Bob in February, he mentioned that you guys needed to update your redevelopment plan, I think is what he said. And he asked me what options were available for that. I said, Bob, I don't have an option for a redevelopment plan, but I have an economic development plan. And there might be pieces of this that you like. And so flipping over to this next page, what you see is the minimum technical requirements for an economic development plan. So OKRA, once they award the grant, the firm selected will have to meet all these requirements on this paper, and they'll have to, the Okra will literally go through and check to make sure each box is checked. Now, we can add more stuff to this list, but this is the list that the minimum, the contract, the engineering firm, architect, the planning firm that's selected would have to provide. Okra does require we go through a request for qualifications process, and I'll go through that timing here in a minute. But when you look at the economic development plan, you're gonna get a section on general background. There'll be an economic development planning committee that'll probably be representatives from the Redevelopment Commission. It'll probably also contain business owners, residents, citizens. It'll be a group that's gonna help this team that's working on this plan, guide them and help them see what they should be looking at and give advice during the plan. Flipping over to the next page, they're going to look at D, existing conditions. What are the current economic conditions? What are the community assets? What are the economic opportunities? Section E, I think, is really where you're starting to see some of the stuff you want to see. What is the economic development vision and key goals for the future of Beech Grove? What is an action plan? Section F. They're going to give you an action plan. They're going to look at action steps for economic diversity, business development potential, redevelopment, revitalization, labor force, education, and training. Flipping over to the next page, they're going to then present a specific action plan to implement an economic development strategy. And you can read all the things there. So that is one option that's available from Okra. It is grant funds of $40,000. The contribution from the city would be about $7,500, and you only spend that if you get awarded the grant. That's the good news. The bad news is it's just a little slow sometimes because it's federal funding. There's a process we got to go through. And so, flipping over to the next page here, I put together a draft timeline. Okra offers these planning grants quarterly. The process I'll go through and then talk schedule. So the first thing is, once I get the approval, if we so choose to move forward, I have to put an ad in the paper that says we need a firm that's going to do all these minimum technical requirements. If we want to add things to it, that would be the time to add in different things that the Redevelopment Commission may want to add in. You don't have to, most people don't, but you do have that option of adding more if you want. We'll advertise it. We'll then wait 30 days. Firms will respond to our office. I've got a bunch of firms we've worked with in the past that I'll send this to that'll respond to us with packets. Then I'll need a committee to interview the candidates that respond, and then we'll select somebody. Then we'll negotiate price, and with that, then we'll submit an application. So looking at timing, I've got that if I just advertise this on April 4th, I get proposals back May 6th, do interviews late May, early June, hold a public hearing on August 5th, pass a resolution on August 5th council meeting, submit application to Okra August 16th, award announcements September 17th, we sign grant agreements, and the firm would not start working on the plan until probably November. That's a little ways out there, I realize that. But that is one option we could do. Okra just funded 3 planning grants this last round on Wednesday. We were fortunate enough to write 2 of them. We wrote Grant County's comprehensive plan and the Town of Moreland's utility infrastructure project. So we do have a good success going after these. What will I need from the city? There's some paperwork that goes along with these federal grants that they're familiar with. We'll need some support from residents and you guys writing letters. I need to include about 7 letters that say, I'm a resident of Beech Grove. I want to make sure we have a plan to move the community forward. Get letters from like the Chamber of Commerce, get a letter from the Redevelopment Commission president. That's about it. I mean, there's more to it. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but I want to be realistic with you on the timeline on this thing. So that's one option you have if you wanted to pursue the Okra planning grant. The other option you have is just to put an RFQ out there and hire a firm and pay out of local funds to kind of help expedite the process. So that's kind of your 2 options that I know of that Bob asked me to present here today. What kind of questions do you have?
Just so that we're clear on this one, for the Okra grant, the city would have to apply for this grant. The city council takes actions, the mayor applies for it, not us, the RDC.
Correct.
I guess the the big question is, if we have an economic development plan, can we use it as an RDC plan?
I think
Are they one and the same, or are they really different?
This might be a good segue into the next presentation, I think.
yes, okay. Yes, Ed is it Curtin, right? Curtin. Thank you. Ed Curtin is our second presenter. If you have your email on your phone, we just got a copy of his presentation emailed to us by Aaron over here. So yeah, Ed, I will let you step up here if you have some things to pass out.
Could I just ask one other thing?
Yes, please.
You mentioned something I thought sounded interesting, the timeline. If we didn't go the Okra grant timeline and we decided to pursue it more directly, do you have a feeling on what that timeline would look like?
I think you can move as quick as you want to move. We could put out an RFQ rather quickly, and then, you can make it a 2-week, a 3-week, a 4-week. I mean, you kind of set how quickly you want responses back, and then you pick a firm, you hire them, and you're off and running.
Yeah, so I guess this is my, I guess maybe I'm stating the obvious, but if we went with the Okra, we wouldn't be able to really start this plan until next year, writing it. If we did it this year, we could write it this year and implement it this year.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that correctly. Thank you.
Ed,
Turn
please.
it over to Mr. Ed Curtin. I've worked on multiple projects with this guy, so.
Thanks for letting me come speak tonight. To answer your question a little bit, what the state's going to look for from an economic development plan, ideally what we want to do is on the front end of that, craft it, and if you go that direction, craft it in a way that makes it very easy to incorporate it into your economic development plans for all of it. Because there are going to be some particular requirements, I think, from the redevelopment side of it that may not show up in what the state looks for. So I think I just want to make sure that we, if you move that direction, that we craft it in a way that it makes it very easy to go ahead and adopt it as part of your economic development plan. Does that answer your question?
I'm not sure.
Well, the issue is you could create an economic development plan. It may or may not align with what you need to do from the TIF area economic development. Because when you create a TIF area, an economic development plan is created along with that, right? So when you do that, there are some kind of specific requirements that you have to go through to incorporate that as part of the TIF area, or when you do the declaratory and go through that whole process. So you want to make sure if you go down the route of getting help from Okra, then you just want to make sure that you're incorporating all the parts and pieces. As Mike was saying, if there are additional requirements, let's make sure that we include those on the front end, so that when you get the final product, it's a lot easier to go ahead and adopt it through that process of incorporating it into all the different.
Right, I got it. Okay, thank you.
So, if I had known you're dealing with landfill, I would have included a project that I did out in Danville for the Twin Bridges landfill out there. I did all the recreation plans. But anyway, to kind of tell you a little bit about who I am, I apologize the printing on this isn't quite right. But so my name's Ed Curtin. My company is CWC Latitudes. I've been in business for about 14 years or so. About half of my practice is in public practice, about half of it's in private practice. Prior to me starting my own firm, I was actually the Redevelopment Commission director for the city of Columbus. So we did quite a few different projects and dealt with a lot of different issues. I've also worked in planning, worked in parks. My undergrad's in landscape architecture from Purdue. I also have MBA from IU, so I can legitimately root for both teams, except when they play each other. So the kind of the map on the second page there kind of shows you the distribution of places I've worked. Again, I apologize. I just got this done today and didn't proof it before I got here, so I apologize for that. But worked on the next page is an image of the coal, which is a project in Columbus. And I think this kind of gets at some of what you're maybe wrestling with some of the properties. So this particular site was a parking lot for a mall that was basically going downhill. And so we had the opportunity to land a fairly significant project with Cummins for their marketing folks. But we had parking to help get that project to be in Columbus. So I went to, at that time, my boss, which was the president of the Redevelopment Commission, and said, I think we can get more out of this lot than just doing parking to satisfy Cummins. So that's how we came up with this project, and we wrapped on 3 sides the parking structure with apartments on the upper floors and commercial on the first floor. This lot generated about $2,500 a year in property taxes. Now, just the apartment project, which is about half the block, generates, I think, $330,000 a year in property taxes. So it has done a good job in terms of what we wanted. Ultimately, it provided 146 apartments and some commercial space, so it really helped activate that downtown. The next project is River Center in Jasper. That was a former cabinet manufacturer. The building had sat derelict for about 25 years. And so in this particular case, I approached the developer and said, hey, I have this idea of what I think could happen on this site. And the developer, I met with them at the site, talked about what we could do. They liked the idea, so we met with the mayor. The mayor liked the idea. So ultimately, kind of a long story, we were able to work out a deal with the property owner to purchase the property. The building that's kind of up in this corner is now 110 bed hotel, Fairfield, I think. And then this kind of L-shaped piece is 75 apartments with commercial all on the first floor. And then the parking area is where they had flooding issues, so they had to buy all those houses. We converted that all to porous parking to deal with that as well. So again, it's kind of one of those things where we're being able to take a little bit of the sow's ear and turn it into a silk purse. And again, it really makes a big difference for the downtown of Jasper. So the third project is Commercial Review, or the Hood Building in Portland, Indiana. And it is a 100-year-old structure. All the upper floors have been vacant for quite some time. The first floor is actually local paper. And we're really in the middle of the process on this one, where the Redevelopment Commission actually purchased the building so that we could bring the AV down to 0, so that when we kind of put it back in the deal, we capture 100% increment. But the idea is the upper floors will be about 24, 25 apartments, and then that first floor will be maintained as commercial space. So we just did the declaratory. We're working on getting it through Planning Commission and City Council and back to redevelopment, and then we'll essentially put it on the market to work with the developer to do what we want them to do. So again, it's kind of, these are all things that kind of been able to work with. The last one, Mike is going to be familiar with. It's Depot Street Park in Greenfield, and this was one that I worked on from a stellar standpoint, where we were able to incorporate this into the plan, and Mike was able to help them with the grant administration on the project. But it converted, this structure is actually an old grain elevator, which is now a wonderful restaurant, and this is all commercial space over here. So it's really activated this whole area downtown, and they have a great park space with an amphitheater and attract quite a few people in the downtown. So those are just kind of a handful of just a drop in the bucket kind of the types of projects I've had the opportunity to work on in the course of my career. And so this Bob and chat with you a little bit, to see if this is kind of what you're thinking about, or how you want to try and address some of the areas that you have here in Beech Grove, and, be happy to try and answer any questions you might have.
And Matthew, I'd like to say, as a way of the belated introduction, Aaron and I became aware of, and we called Redevelopment Association of Indiana attorneys, and we said, is there anybody you know or could recommend that might be able to help a city the size of Beech Grove with some of these areas that are very short in development and frustrating us for some time. And she said, "Hey, Kirsten," and so we had a brief telephone call with Ed, and then we have is it Zoom call? Yeah.
I talked to Ed twice. I mean, the other part that Ed hadn't really talked about, and the reason that we wanted to introduce him to the RDC, is that he would be the one who could help update the redevelopment plan. And so that kind of follows on what Mike was talking about in terms of having someone available that you could contract with for the application.
And I guess
Or alternatively, or in addition, I think he has the background to help implement a plan as well as just write a plan.
I guess I'm a little biased, okay? I feel like it's important for you to get somebody that actually understands what you need to do, but also has actually done it, and has that kind of practical experience, and you get the benefit of issues that have come up, and so we kind of know what to watch out for as we go forward, so that's, I think, part of the benefit that I can.
So you would be the type of person that we could hire for, like, say, Safeway. Currently owned by a developer company. They said that, I will just be frank, they said that their plans were demolish the buildings on the site, mill the entire parking lot, which they didn't end up doing, and then they were going to redevelop the area, which they haven't proceeded with, they say, because of the commercial bond market, just the gain the funding was not there, which I find to be understandable, but more. I hesitate to say promises, but there was more expectations than what we got. But we could, as just an example, we could hire you to say, okay, this is what we got. Help us to help us figure out, okay, what can we redevelop this as? Can we work with this developer, or what are the other alternatives if we need to move away from that developer, like trying to find someone else to buy it or buying ourselves? All those questions that come with getting something that is, different, and making that site good for that part of the city, and completing that part of why it was in a TIF area to begin with, or will be put back into an area.
And one little tidbit that I would go ahead and offer is leave the parking lot, because the contractors would prefer to have that as laydown space.
Okay.
So let them take advantage of it, and it's a lot easier for them to deal with in the long run. So I've already gone through that problem before, so.
I was going to ask as well. I know we were talking about the potential of the Okra grant of up to $40,000, and we've also talked about potentially being able to hire privately without doing an Okra grant. In the grand scheme of things, I know you can't quote us an exact price, but can you give us a ballpark figure on maybe what drafting a redevelopment plan would generally cost?
Mike and I chatted about that a little bit. I'd say it's probably in that $40,000 to $60,000 range.
Okay.
I had sent a link to we just updated the plan for Portland, so we'll make sure that you get a link to that plan so you can look through that. That was about a $60,000 plan.
Let me throw this at you. Our redevelopment plan, the final version, lost forever. We have the final Okra version. That's what we've been using, and the description, so the summary, like the actual plan itself, goes back to 2008, including probably all the data that was collected. If I recall, we had a workshop 2 years ago with Rhonda Cook. And this is when she went into private practice, but essentially what the design was, okay, talk to us about moving forward with redeveloping the plan. And that workshop ended rather quickly when she said, this is really old, you need to, it be an amendment, but you need to start from scratch. You need new data, new input from, you would essentially be rewriting a whole new plan as an amendment because just everything's really, really old and it's based on times that really don't.
Well, and honestly, the other thing is you want to have in your, you want to figure out what you need to have in your plan so you can actually spend the money. So that's kind of a critical piece of the equation, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Let's figure out what are all things out there that we need to be thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
because we need to make sure those items are in the plan. We have a cost estimate along with those so that
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier to read.
That would that include identifying other parcels that are not currently TIF that could stand for?
We could figure out what other parcels we want to acquire or make sure that we include in the plan.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. The question got away from me. When describing the actual what we have the plan here, my actual question was, would that adjust the range that you said to us about 40 to 60, just based on our unique documents that we have?
I'd say generally no.
Okay.
I think what ultimately we want to do is all agree on what that scope ends up looking like.
Okay.
Because that's where it can change the.
Sure.
And how long of a timeline would you see that development process?
It's probably in that 6 to 9 month period. So if we started shortly, we could be done by the end of the year.
Yeah, right.
I really like you, Ed. So I'm going to ask my attorneys a question. If I wanted to ask the board to hire this person, do we have to do an RFQ, or is that can we hire? What are the parameters on us? Do we have to be, because of a fairness rule, we need to get bids from other people, or?
Statutorily, you do not have to do an RFQ. I don't know whether Beech Grove, the city of Beech Grove, has an ordinance that might require that. And
Okay.
that's something I need to ask Craig.
And I'll note for the video, I'm just spitballing here. Again, I find your presentation and your credentials to be fascinating. A former executive director, as you heard from our annual report, we don't have full-time or part-time employees here. It's just us five and everyone else in the city and everything. But
Well, and I help Portland, Jake County, and Nashville with their redevelopment.
okay. Other?
The other thing I would say is, so on the plan that we did for Portland, I teamed with a company called Rundell-Bernsberger. They're local here to Indianapolis, and I would team with them on a project like this.
Do you know what the population of Portland is? I don't remember.
A little over 6,000.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Okay. So we've heard both of these presentations and everything. And so as I mentioned to you all before we began our meeting, I'm going to poll you all about what you think we should do. Now, there's the Oprah grant that is out there, but the city would control that. They're the ones who have to apply for it. They're the ones who would control that funding. The timeline is, we have to recognize it's the Oprah's timeline. It's the state. They're the ones who give out that money. As opposed to, you know that what revenue we have. We have $40,000-$60,000. We can move forward ourselves on the redevelopment plan. We add on economic development stuff. I don't know totally about that. I think it's a separate statute, but that's something that we have to reestablish. That maybe we can definitely look into that and everything. So just a question of what do you all want to do? Because we want to move forward with ourselves, and do we want to try and get 3 people, do a comparison, see who's best, both cost-wise and what they can offer us? Do you want to rely on the city? So I want to hear from all of you.
I have a couple of thoughts. Number one, we're required by the state to have a redevelopment plan, right?
Yes.
That is a requirement. We've been operating without one since 2008.
No, we have one. It's just from 2008.
Well, we don't know where it's at.
Oh, well, the final version, yes, yeah, but
But we've been
we don't know
operating,
what- it was adopted.
so we've been operating by the 2008 plan for all these years.
Yes.
And we all agree that that plan is completely out of date.
Speak for myself, yes.
I read it. I read it cover to cover. It was talking about how, what are we going to do if St. Francis Hospital leaves Beech Grove? You know, we're way past that. It seems to me that this is a critical thing for us to exist and function. Right? We do all agree to that. That is critical. I mean, it's critical to the state as well as our functionality. So if we all agree on that, then the second thing is that how much time can we afford? Can we afford to not implement it this year and wait till next year and just do all the administrative things this year? I mean, and how much are we going to save? Are we going to save? How much are we going to save if we wait another year to begin implementing a plan that takes us a year to start getting to? And I think that we should take that into consideration as we all think this thing through. If it is critical and it is going to take a lot of time to go through the grant process, basically another year, it seems that $40,000 to $60,000 would be a really, really good investment for the RDC as well as for the city of Beech Grove. That would come back to us, I think, in a shorter period of time. That would pay for itself. So those are my initial gut feelings on what I've heard so far, and I just wanted to say that out loud.
Yeah. Andrew?
Well, I concur and agree with a lot of that, and also there's no guarantee at the end of the day that if we apply for a grant, we're 100% going to get it. Not that we have great counsel to be able to assist us in that, but and by the same token, if there's government money that can be given to us, I prefer to have that instead of spending taxpayer of Beech Grove necessarily money. But at the same time, that's what this organization is designed to be able to do. We need to have a redevelopment plan to be able to operate and be able to expand what we can do to help the taxpayers of Beech Grove and provide a better service. So I'm leaning much more towards just getting it done.
Bill?
I think following on what Andrew said, I just lost my train of thought. Money-wise, if we implement it sooner, theoretically, we're going to get a return on investment sooner. So you're saying not spend the taxpayers' money, go with the government money, but if we get it going, then theoretically we could be bringing in money sooner too. So hopefully it would be kind of a wash. Actually, hopefully we come out ahead. So basically, if we went the grant route, using those figures, it really wouldn't cost us anything? Is that kind of what we're saying?
It would cost, there'd be the matching grant that the city council would put up
the
that
grant.
they may ask us to pay for in the end.
But in the
yes.
long run, we'd be talking months.
Yes.
It wouldn't even get started until the end of the year.
2025 is
Was
probably.
this gentleman saying that we could have it all done by the end of the year?
Well, then we got to do the actual planning, which would be another 6 to 9 months after that, and we'd be really looking at into 25, beginning of 26.
My thinking
we'd
is
be
that
locked and loaded.
I thought we'd be talking bigger figures. I mean, I hate to say it's not a lot of money. Everything's a lot of money. People forget that none of our money is ours. It's the taxpayers. We don't have any money, and I think people tend to forget that. Oh, it's not much. Everything's a lot of money, but those aren't bad figures. And if we can start getting a return on investment sooner, then we should be able to. I think that's probably the better way to go, is to get the money coming in sooner with a small investment, relatively small.
Jenny?
I say we need a new plan, so I'm on board. Operating from 2008 plan, we need a new one.
Yep.
That's what we're here for, is try to develop, looking the future of what we're doing. So I say we jump on it and get the ball rolling on making a new plan.
And then I know you're not a regular school board representative. I do want to know your thoughts as a school board member and what the school would think, because again, the redevelopment plan obviously can affect the schools, because if we do better redevelopment, that's better for all local units of government, including the school.
So I'm not sure I'm going to add much value here, not knowing what the current plan says from 2008. But I would like to understand how the objectives align with improving the number of young families that come to Beech Grove to live, and also improve the tax basis for Beech Grove because we really, could benefit off of that.
Yep.
So I think those are definitely objectives that the school board has, improving, the number of students that come to our schools, and also the funding that we can receive for the school system. So that's where I would look at is what kind of objectives are we going to be providing to the companies that might develop the economic development plan, and make sure that there's some good harmony there between those organizations.
My thoughts are, and they're in no particular order. Number one is that I've committed to the city council that we need to work on this redevelopment plan. I said it last year. I think my comments have been pretty much clear of that. I wanted to work on it this year. It needs to be redone. We really should have started working on this 2 years ago when we found out that our plan was effectively old and no longer reflected this city. Knowing that between $40,000 and $60,000, you've seen our annual reports. You know that we've spent money on other things. Again, while just using the Safeway as the clearest example because it's the biggest example you can see from the road. We spent $114,000 on demolition, and we didn't really. We got a demolition. Now, I want to apologize for it. I think those buildings had to come down, but we spent money on things that haven't come to as much of fruition as I think a rewritten and modern redevelopment plan would happen. My other point is that part of that is that my anticipation of collecting data, we will also get input from residents who are inside or around our different TIF areas right now, as well as anyone in the city who is interested in giving their input on how we should redevelop certain places. And frankly, the last one, which I don't know, Ed, tell me if I'm a little bit off base here, but with a updated redevelopment plan, I think that maybe hopefully will, once it's done, it's made public, it's final, that can go to developers and they can say, well, we have these areas we want to develop, and that will say, oh, that may pique our interest. We bring them here, we get these projects done, we are, we can say that we've accomplished bigger redevelopment things. So on that point, I think that we are all aligned that we should get going on this thing. So my last comment will be this, and this is really to the city administration. Jim, when you watch this video, also to my client Peter, which I do appreciate you giving your presentation on this. It is very insightful. I do not want to discourage the city from, if they want to take the Oprah route, to approach a economic development plan. I know we haven't had one in a long time. There used to be a commission. I know it's still in the code of ordinance, but it hasn't been used in some time. And of course, if the city wants to prepare for that, speaking as a resident, I'm all for that. Having other plans, especially on an economic development front, is good. And of course, if they want to pursue that route and tack it on and get the responsibility up to the RDC to also do economic development. I mean, I think we're all smart people, and our successors, whenever that will happen, will also be smart people, and we'll be able to do both things. So I would, if the city wants to pursue that and tells you to go after the Okra grant, I'll sign one of those letters, and we can have that as an additional thing. But I think we're all in agreement. We need to move now. So with that, the question is, do we want to put out the RFQ, get a couple of bids? I'm going to use the term bids, just so we can compare and contrast, get that out starting, I don't know if we have to adopt anything, so have something drafted for the April meeting, so we can publish sometime in late April, early May, and then spend the May meeting part of that, looking over bids if they're available, and hopefully we can hire someone by, May, June at the very latest. Does that sound like a plan, Bob?
I wouldn't refer to it as a bid because not every person is going to have the same background and experience. The price might be lower, but maybe they don't have the
Response is the better term.
I think that the point of an RFQ is that you get people to submit something, and then you can kind of identify who you feel comfortable working with. It's not really based on price.
No.
Obviously, at some point you'll negotiate a price. But the point of the RFQ is to
So I'm going to say this. For the April meeting, I would like our attorneys to prepare a RFQ for publication for us to review and approve. And then in the April meeting, we will approve that. I guess also, I guess we can give you a directive. I know we'll publish it probably in the whatever we need to publish it in. But there are a couple of firms, such as like Ed. I would like to make sure Ed specifically gets that RFQ because I've liked his presentation. But I want to discuss that in April, so I'm giving you a task, dear councils, to prepare something, draft something for us, so that we can discuss and vote for it, get this ball moving, get it published. So in May we have some bids. I'm sorry, not bids, responses, whatever, documentation. People give us information. We can review that, maybe even make a decision. Plan for people to come and give a public statement as well, like Ed did. Sound like a plan? Cool. All right. With that, that'll complete that that part of the of our meeting agenda. We have a couple other items to get to, but I don't want to keep Jeff or Mike or Ed if you have to move on, or even Councilman. We have some other business though to get to, and so we can get home. I appreciate everything, and again, your presentations were very insightful for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we have a couple other items of business. I will move through this as quickly as we can. The next item of business is the approval of the Uniform Conflict of Interest Disclosure Statements. There are 4 of them. If any of the members have them completed, the normal process of what we have done is that we pass them around, everyone's looked at them, and then we've adopted a resolution saying that the RDC has accepted that statement, and then that statement gets uploaded into the DLGF portal by someone. I assume it's the clerk treasurer, but don't quote me on that, but someone usually does that. I will note, while mine is on the agenda, unfortunately, I was not smart enough to remember that the mayor, the person who appointed me, was going on vacation, and so I forgot to get a signature on it, so I will do mine at the next meeting, but I do have mine present. If you would still like to review it nonetheless, I'm happy to pass it around. But I will have it also for next month. So, is there anyone who has theirs completed already, but signed by your appointment authority? If not, I have these. We'll say in my binder. We'll do that next month. Okay.
We talked earlier, I don't work for the city, I don't work for anybody that has business with the city, I'm retired, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's applicable, and based on the city council meeting earlier in the month, I don't think I have to do anything. I'm happy to put my name on it, and put not applicable, and turn it in now, if that's good.
No, I mean, if you're saying you have no conflict of interest, and we talked about this, I've looked at the law, you only have to submit it in order to avoid the conflict of interest felony if you have a conflict of interest before on
I'm
a
happy
contract.
to give one with my name on it that says not applicable. If not, then I'm good, because
You're fine, then
I'm
the
retired.
resolution I'll mark through, that's not a problem. David, Jenny? Same with you? Okay. Jenny? Okay. All right. I will just remind you of all this, is that if we're ever doing something like a contract to enter in with someone to rewrite a redevelopment plan, for instance, if you have a conflict of interest or a pecuniary interest you would gain from that potential contract, you do need to let us know. You need to fill this out, get it all signed. We have to approve it before we take final action. Just as a precaution, and just so that we're all familiar how we do this, I will get mine done. I will tell you, I work for state government. I have no conflicts of interest. I've never run a business before myself, so. But I will bring this next month because I just to make sure it gets done and everything. But okay, I'll just have to remember next month. Okay, next item of business. So when we went through our, last month, when we went through the finances and the fund and what was in the budget, further investigation found that we still had money reserved, or earmarked for that matter, towards engineering and design costs towards phase 2 of the Greenway. Now, further questions that were presented to me from other RDC members caused me to go back through all my emails and everything and look into why we still have money earmarked, but we hadn't been getting invoices since 2023. And I discovered that the last invoice we paid in the beginning of 2023, the clerk treasurer at the time sent an email saying that this is the last invoice, and it was done. So, so based on my reading of everything, is that we were asked to contribute more than what we needed. Maybe there was Crossroads didn't need to do as much work as they first thought, and so we just have under $20,000 that we should unlock. I have evidence that we are done with this particular part. We have satisfied our particular piece on this, and so I have a motion for you, which I will read into the record. The one I sent you by email, Andrew, make sure to attach it, but also copy and paste and put it into the minutes, but also make it an attachment to the minutes for when you present it next month. But that motion is as follows. I move that the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission remove the reserve on the remaining $19,968.52 that was approved by the Redevelopment Commission under RDC Resolution 2022-2 to pay for part of the engineering and design cost incurred by the city for Phase 2 of the Greenway project so that it may be applied to other future RDC projects. I've made that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second said motion.
Second. Okay. Motion. Second by Andrew Noon. Discussion. I'll just reiterate what I just told you about that. This money doesn't need to be earmarked anymore. Let it go back into the main pot so we can put it towards having someone to redo or help us with our redevelopment plan.
50%, almost there to the 40 to
Further discussion on this matter. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is approved. Motion approved. All right. Next item of business is RDC Resolution 2024-5, updating the RDC funding application. Before I read the resolution and its exhibits into the record, I'm bringing forward this resolution to update certain procedures in the RDC funding application that we just passed last fall. The main one being that removing the emergency exemption to submitting this plan by city administration. I've been convinced by others on the RDC that this may not be needed. Again, no one has submitted a funding application since we've first implemented this. Everyone should be equal, and I'm fully in agreement with that. The next piece is to remove all the instructions and procedures that were in the 2023 resolution and placing it into its own exhibit. For the specific fact that that exhibit can be placed on the website for folks to read, to understand how they need to submit their application, whether it be by email, hand delivery, or mail, as well as so they can also understand the procedures of, okay, once they submit it, what's going to happen, i.e. goes to a member for review, talk with counsel, make sure all the legal stuff is there, public meeting where they're going to come and present on this, and all the other things. But I will read that exhibit in full. So, if you bear with me, I will now read the entire resolution. Resolution number 2024-5, resolution of the City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission updating procedures for requesting funding and support from Redevelopment Commission. Whereas the City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission, the Commission, is the governing body of the City of Beech Grove Department of Redevelopment, the Department, pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14-3, whereas the Commission may adopt the rules and bylaws they consider necessary for the proper conduct of their proceedings, the carrying out of their duties, and the safeguarding of the money and property placed in their custody pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14-8, whereas the Commission has established allocation and redevelopment areas throughout the City of Beech Grove to provide property tax revenue to the Commission each year for the purpose of redeveloping those areas pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14. Whereas the Commission finds it necessary to update certain procedures that will allow it to gather information and investigate if a request for funding brought before the Commission is a request that the Commission may act on according to state law. And whereas the procedures and application established and updated by this resolution will allow the Commission to determine if a specific funding request from an individual, entity, or government agency can be approved by the Commission pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14, all other applicable laws, and in compliance with the established City Redevelopment Plan. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission as the governing body of the City of Beech Grove Economic Development Department, adopts the following procedures and application for requesting of funding from the Commission. 1. The City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission funding application, established by Resolution 2023-03, is hereby amended by updating the application instructions and procedures in Exhibit A of this resolution. 2. The application established in Exhibit A of Resolution 2023-03 remains unchanged and is placed in Exhibit B of this resolution. 3. The Clerk Treasurer shall place a copy of this resolution, Exhibit A and Exhibit B, on the Commission's page of the City of Beech Grove website. The application shall be downloadable as a fillable PDF file. I'll skip the second page, which just reads adopted this 21st day of March 2024 and has our signature lines. This is Exhibit A. It is titled Resolution of the City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission Funding Application Instructions and Procedures. The Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission has established an application and procedure for the consideration of requests for funding from the Commission. If you would like to request funding from the RDC for a redevelopment project within the City of Beech Grove, you must complete this application. The instructions and procedures for considering a funding request application is as follows. 1. Each individual, entity, or government agency who wants to request funding from the Commission must submit the application to the Commission. 2. A completed application shall be submitted to the Commission by email at rdc@beechgrove.com, by hand delivery to the Clerk Treasurer of the City of Beech Grove, or Treasurer, or by mail to the office of the Clerk Treasurer of the City of Beech Grove, attention to the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. If a completed application is hand delivered or mailed to the Clerk Treasurer shall email a copy of the application to the members of the RDC and Council. I'm going to reread that sentence again, excuse me. If a completed application is hand delivered or mailed to the Clerk Treasurer shall email a copy of the application to the members of the Commission and Council for the Commission. 3. A member of the Commission shall be assigned by the President of the Commission to review the application. The President shall ensure that applications are equitably assigned to each member of the Commission. 4. The member of the Commission that is assigned to review the application shall review the information provided on the application, gather any additional information the Commission member finds necessary from the person, entity, or government agency that submitted the application, and speak with Commission counsel regarding any legal matters pertaining to the request in the application. 5. The Commission shall review the application and the findings of the Commission member assigned to the review of the application at the next meeting of the Commission following the month the application was submitted. The individual, entity, or government agency that submits the application shall be permitted to address the Commission at the meeting about the request in the application and answer questions posed by a member of the Commission. 6. Notwithstanding anything in number 5 of the resolve clause of this resolution, at the request of the Commission counsel or the Commission member assigned to review an application, the President may delay consideration and review of the application to the second meeting of the Commission following the month the application was submitted. 7. Following the review of the application and the findings of the Commission member at the Commission meeting, the Commission may vote to approve the request in the application, approve the request, but at a dollar amount less than requested in the application, deny the request in the application, or delay consideration of the request in the application. 8. Any application that is not acted on by the Commission at the end of a calendar year will carry over for consideration by the Commission in the next calendar year. 9. Any application submitted to the commission will be posted on the commission's page of the City of Beech Grove website for public viewing. So that's the end of Exhibit A with the instructions. Exhibit B is the funding application, which has not changed. I have not augmented this, but the application asks for the following information. The type of applicant, being an individual, a for-profit entity, a nonprofit entity, a government agency, or other, as a checkmark box. It asks for the name of the individual organization, the address of the individual organization, a contact person's name, mailing address, phone number, and email, the dollar amount being requested from the RDC, lines for entry of the proposed use of the funds, with instructions that additional pages can be added as necessary. There is, as part of the application, an ask for that if the request is from the RDCs for infrastructure support related to an existing business, industrial, or warehouse property, that the street address of the business be provided. There is asked for if their RDC assistance is being requested related to construction or improvement of infrastructure or related improvements to support a new business, industrial plant, or warehouse facility, and no street address has yet been assigned to the business, to describe with reasonable specificity the location of the business, where it will be located, indicating either addresses of adjacent businesses or residences of that property, or list the coast of streets that bound where that property would be located at the north, south, east, and west areas. If this has to pertain to a business, how many employees, including any current Beech Grove employees, will be employed in Beech Grove if the RDC provides funding support. The application asked for the applicant to provide information concerning the number and planned annual salary ranges for each category of salaried employee, and the number and planned hourly wage rate of each category of hourly employee that they plan to employ in Beech Grove. The application asks if the applicant is pursuing any other funding, including from businesses, individuals, foundations, and government agencies. If they answer yes, then they have to answer the next question about what are the means, are the other funds being requested or planned to be requested, and ask for specificity, whether they be tax credits, abatements, grants, or other funding mechanisms. It is asked if the other funding has been received by the applicant as of the date of their application, and it also asks what is the total dollar amount needed to fund the project, and any deadlines that they have in securing the funds needed to complete the project. The application asks if the project will positively, how will the project positively impact the City of Beech Grove, even though impact is spelled incorrectly. I will get that changed. And then it asks for, does the project meet any of the redevelopment aims? And the redevelopment aims that are listed are acquiring real property in areas needing redevelopment, opening, closing, relocating, widening, and improving public roads and right-of-ways, rehabilitating real or personal property to carry out redevelopment, necessary public improvements, including parks, playgrounds, or recreational facilities, sewers, utility services, off-street parking or levies, repairing, maintaining, or demolishing buildings necessary for redevelopment, investigating and remediating environmental contamination on real property, equipment purchases, and then another line for other, and then another line for not applicable. Then the application asks the total amount of new investment the applicant intends to make in Beech Grove. Then it asks for the applicant to indicate, if applicable, how the above investment will be allocated, and asking for the enter amounts regarding infrastructure, office buildings, manufacturing plants, warehouses, restaurants, and then others, where they're asked to list what those others are. Then the application asks if by the deadline not enough funds have been donated, is any or all of the RDC money refundable. And we then asked for them to provide an explanation to that yes or no question regarding if we can, if any RDC money that's provided can be refunded. Then it asked for names and contact information for all key individuals, organizations, and legal entities involved in the project or program for which funding is being requested. The application asks if there are any court, administrative, regulatory, or similar procedures, investigations, or inquiries by any government bodies, or any similar matter or proceeding against or involving any key individuals, organizations, and or private entities listed on the application, which could materially impact completion of the proposed project. Then the application asks if the applicant has identified key partners, or ask them to identify key partners that have completed similar projects in the past, and to describe that in the application, which we asked them to do in the next question. And then it looks like finally we asked them to provide any additional information they would like to share in the RDC about this project. And then there's an ask for them to attach any written proposal or proposed budget associated with the funding request to the application. And then finally, it ends with a requirement for the applicant's signature. Under the statement, I understand that the RDC may require a refund of part or all of any funding provided to me, meaning the applicant, my company or organization, and if any of the representations contained in this application are materially inaccurate, or I, my company or organization, referring to the applicant, materially fails to fulfill development, investment, employment, either by type or numerical level, or any other commitment made herein. And then it provides at the bottom, again, the instructions, how for the applicant to submit the application, whether by email, hand delivered to the clerk treasurer's office, or mailing to the clerk treasurer's office so it can come to us. The final page of the application is for our use only. This is for us to keep track of what we do with this application. On top of, as we get applications developing, if we do resolutions, that we would attach and update on the city website to show folks that here are the applications that have been submitted and are pending. Here are the ones that are approved. What money do we approve and what conditions do we place on it? So with that, I will note that there are two errors in the entire resolution. So before I make a motion to adopt this resolution, there are two corrections that I would make. One is in Exhibit A regarding the instructions, and that is to change in number 6. It states, notwithstanding anything in number 5 of the resolve clause of this resolution. I would change that particular line before the comma to read, notwithstanding anything in number 5 of these instructions, comma. So we'll change that. And then in the application itself on, which one is it? In question number 19, the question should read, how will the project positively impact the city of Beech Grove, question mark, except that impact is spelled as import. Change that to impact. So I would ask if we're all good with this, if we adopt this resolution tonight, we would sign the resolution that I currently have here, but I will swap out the pages that will be placed on the website, and that I will give to the clerk treasurer to update her files with those corrections. I will just change the PDF, swap out the pages, but insert the signature page. Are we all good with that? We'll make those from
There is one other typo, by the way.
Oh, tell me, where?
Number 7.
7 in the application?
Yep.
Yeah. It says contracts email instead of contacts email.
Yes, number 7, got it. Okay, change that.
And maybe this is just a point of interest, but it says, now therefore be resolved by the City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission as the governing body of the City of Beech Grove Economic Development Department.
Yeah, that's
that
from
an
the
accurate
original.
statement?
That's the original one I pulled over there, and so that's the. I think that's because that's what we. It could be a typo.
I'm just, I wasn't sure that was accurate.
Oh, you know what? You're probably right. I didn't type RA. You're right. Okay. Okay, I got that one.
I guess what I'm asking is, should we strike as the governing body of the Beech Grove Economic Development Department? I'd strike it from there.
Oh no, it should no. Actually, no. I think we should strike it. We need to replace it. It is the I'm sorry. Help. No, we were. No result is the.
Because-
Yeah, it should be City of Beech Grove. Yeah, I don't know why I typed that there. It should be City of Beech Grove Department of Redevelopment, because that's what we are. We are the governing body of that department, according to city ordinance. So it should be City of Beech Grove Department of Redevelopment.
And then strike as the governing body of the City of Beech Grove Economic Development Department? Right. Line after that.
Oh, yes, no. Okay, so it should read, now, therefore, be resolved by the City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission as the governing body of the City of Beech Grove Department of Redevelopment, comma, adopts the following procedures and application for the funding of, or for the requesting of funding from the commission. Yes,
Okay,
because
great.
by city ordinance, we are described as the governing body of the redevelopment department. There is
Got
a department in the city,
Okay,
but it has no employees.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. No, great catch. I was reading that, I was thinking, I'm pretty sure I wrote that in the original resolution. It was all good, but I may have just retyped over it and did something. But yeah, but that's a good catch. But yeah, change that. So change those things in the one that'll go on the website and that we'll have on file and everything. So with that,
Can I ask a question real quick?
yes,
The application itself, does that become public record?
yes.
Because like 12 and 13, I don't really care for in there about how many employees do you plan to employ above and beyond what you got is basically what it
Yes.
says in the thing about number and planned annual salary ranges. For instance, the gentleman that came in from Ballpark, his pay is a lot less than Crossrails would be or something like that, you know, and that's
It
just
would be a matter of public record. This was designed in part of showing that, well, we're spending this property tax dollars that we're getting, and so we need to, again, we're presenting that information, but it would only be salary ranges like what you would see on a job application or LinkedIn or something. It would not, and I would not expect, I mean, unless someone misreads the application, that they're presenting people's actual salaries.
Well, so that's
for
what,
which, yeah.
so if I'm assigned this person, I can go to them and say, hey, let's change that, you know, so it doesn't show what we're saying. So you're not showing individual things.
Yes, yes, I would not, yes,
Those are kinda-
I would not want to
Both
have
of those are things that are going to keep us from approving something anyway.
Mhm.
So, you know, as a former business owner, I'm not sure that I'd be real comfortable putting certain things.
Yeah, I would expect your salary range. It's just general information. Oh, here's how we may, or here's what we're expecting, maybe market rate or something, but don't, no, I do not want
we
to
can
know
work with
what.
them once we get the application and they can actually redo it before we approach
Yes,
the
of
rest
course,
the
yes.
council.
If it was assigned to you, yes, you saw that, that is
Okay, so
what
I'm
your
fine
review
with
would
it.
do.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, RDC, okay, so with that, noting what I just read and noting the changes that have to be made, is there a motion to approve RDC Resolution 2024-5?
I would make said, or I guess I can make, it doesn't
Nope.
matter to me.
No, Phil,
You-
what's,
you can make
well,
it.
you
I
haven't
haven't
made
made one yet,
Yeah.
so I'll make it.
Yeah, let's let
Phil
you
Davis.
make it.
Is there a second?
I guess I'll
There you
second
go.
it. There we go.
Okay, by Andrew. Okay, discussion. I think this clears up the things that we had talked about. It's just a matter of I'll put it up early next week. Once we pass this, get the things updated, get this on the website so people can start using it, and also share it with Nick Pastrick, since I think he'll be our first funding application possibly. So
I just wanted to make a comment and say congratulations to you guys. I can tell there's a lot of thought and energy and heart put into this, and it's going to be a great tool, I think, for us as well as the city. And I just thank the last commission and all their hard work in putting this together.
it was a long time coming, and thank God that Kathy Chappell was still on us to get this done, and that we finally got it completed last year and everything. But I do appreciate the recommendations from others on making sure this gets updated and more uniformed and everything. And so I do appreciate all the comments and suggestions on this one. That's everything I have. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. How I do resolutions is that I do 3 copies. I keep one goes to our secretary, one goes into the attorney file, again, in case we lose our binders, abducted by aliens and whatnot. So I'm going to start down at Phil. You have there's a line with your name under it. Essentially sign above your name. Sign it in triplicate. But I will swap out the version, so I will send a PDF to everyone with the final version with the corrections noted. Use that one for the minutes, and I will send also a copy to the clerk treasurer along with the PDF version of the application again and the new instructions document.
Any idea when we can tell people it'll be available on the website?
Don't know. I know the clerk treasurer is not in town at the moment. My hope would be, I personally would like to see early next week.
Okay.
I will get an email out by Monday, and as soon as I hear something, well, you're all getting CC'd on it because it's RDC work. So, yeah. So, but I will make sure to, if I get word personally, I will share that as soon as I know it. But it should go on there because I don't want them to hunt me down to get the application. With that, as we get the thing signed, we will move to other business. There is no other business, and so we'll float into public comment. I will just say that at next month's meeting, on top of reviewing the RFQ that we've asked our attorneys to put together so we can start finding folks, why don't you two sign, and then I'll sign last. On top of that, is been asked by David, and I think it's a great idea personally, that I'm going to send an invitation out to Crossroads, to Ziegler and Barker, who own the old Safeway property, and to K&W Equipment Company, who are over at 201 Bethel, to come to the RDC and talk to us about how everything's going, have members, you got questions for them, ask for that, just to get a general update on these things, since there's stuff that we've helped out with. It's been a long time since I've heard from Crossroads personally. I always like those folks over there. And so I know David has already sent me an email. I've asked for, if you had questions, get to me by next Wednesday so I can include those so they can prepare. If you have any more questions, again, Wednesday morning-ish, if we can get that done, I will then get that out Wednesday evening after work. I will only stress this, is that, in case they do not appear, I will ask for something in writing. We don't have subpoena power. I can't force them to appear, but if they say, I can't attend that day, maybe we'll get them on a future one, but I will ask for something definitely in writing. Thank you. Is there any further public comments or anything else that we want to cover this evening?
That may be something to put in our plan, that if we give somebody money, that they have to, give us a presentation X amount of time afterwards. Just
Build
so we
something
see.
out like you do this after 3 months, 6 months,
Might
whatever.
write that in so at least we
Good
got
idea.
it on paper.
And I think we'll be moving more towards that. Where's the third one? There it is. Never mind. I think that'd be something. So moving towards a resolution model as we appropriate those things, because that'll be a better one that we all sign. It's under our signatures and it has everything listed out properly. Okay, that's all I have. Is there any further public comment? Counselor, you've been here all this evening. If there's anything you would like to ask for us, I'd love to give you the floor before we wrap up this evening.
I did have a question on the one gentleman's presentation for Okra. What was decided on that?
Oh, we're not going to pursue it ourselves. We're going to move forward with the putting out the RFQ, finding someone to hire, so we can start working on the plan this year as opposed to waiting until November. But that doesn't mean that the city themselves, on pursuing a economic development plan, won't use Klein Peter and go after the grant. And for that, I will refer you over to the mayor's office and everything as city administration works on those things. But again, I will just reiterate, personally, as a resident here, if that does get pursued, I will sign a letter. I think that's always have a nice tool in our pocket. And again, there's a grant that's out there that will make that cheaper. But that'll be a city thing. Okay. Hearing nothing else, and it's been almost 9:30. This is the longest meeting I've ever run on the RDC. Is there a motion to adjourn? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by David. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed. We are adjourned at 9:24 p.m. Thank you, everyone. I didn't think it was 9:24. I didn't think we were it was after 9.
When you're having fun time.